Hi, welcome. Well, how much can we believe we're actually at episode 10 of Z1 Concept Roundtable Discussions? Who would ever have thought? But anyway, it's a fantastic achievement for us. So we're delighted. And thank you so much for all the positive feedback that we've been getting from all of the viewers out there. So let's get underway. My name is Brian Grieve. I'm the Director of Education for Z1 Concept North America, your host for today's roundtable discussion, which I'm sure is going to have some great content. And of course, we have a great panel, as ever, some esteemed guests with us today, and we're delighted they were able to share their very personal time with us. So let's get going. So without any further ado, I always have a partner, my co-host for these Zoom roundtables, and let's not waste any time in introducing the great and the awesome Gerard Caruso. Hey, Gerard.
Brian, I like the way you say awesome. Next time, a little bit more enthusiastic.
All right, let's go.
And you know what, Brian, it's amazing that we were able to create something to basically reach out to everybody in our industry and kind of share with them, give them a little insight that they're not alone. We're all in this together. But what has developed into something to kind of connect with everybody is developed into something that is becoming permanent. And I think these are great avenues for us to be able to discuss anything within our industry, whether it be simply, you know, are we being respected in the industry, all the way to what our episode is about today. So again, my name is Gerard Caruso, and I'm the Creative Director for Z1 Concept USA. And it's amazing to be amongst this esteemed panel of educators, artists, salon owners, independents. We have all the way from...
See if he remembers.
Good old Buffalo, but Mr. Gabriel Visco. Gabriel Visco is a salon owner. He's also an artist, fantastic. We had the privilege of sharing many stages together. Again, from Maryland, Mr. Marcus Collette. Marcus Collette is a salon owner. He's experienced it all. He did that. Now has an independent studio, amazing hairdresser. Again, another great educator and facilitator. All the way from Canada, the lovely Miss Anastasia, better known as my wife. Anastasia is an amazing stylist. She reaches out all over Canada, teaches everybody. She does have her own Facebook Live that she goes on all the time. Teaches everybody everything from wigs to hair, and most importantly, to let everybody know that they're not in this alone. Giselle coming out to us. Beautiful Miss Giselle over there. Again, brand new salon owner, I understand, right, Giselle? Brand new salon owner. So she's going to really give some strong input. Great artist, fantastic hairdresser. We have the beautiful Miss Marlene. Marlene's all the way down in the bottom, waving away, beautiful blonde hair. And I see that you're keeping your retouch area not touched up. So that's a great message to everybody. We love that. Marlene is also a salon owner, so she's going to have some really, really strong input. And last but not least, Miss Amber. Amber is one of our own. She's a great stylist educator as well. So welcome, everybody. I'm glad that everybody was able to join us. Brian, you know, we've talked about everything on these Zoom chats. We've talked about everything from, you know, how is the COVID-19 affecting your business, when your closures were, what, you know, plans of actions were you taking into place? What did you do financially? I think a great one that we had was all talking about respecting the industry and how to gain respect in the industry. But I think this Zoom is going to be just as important because it's really focusing on the new normal. What is the new normal?
Which is the buzz statement, I think, all around the industry.
Absolutely. Everybody's talking about that, the new normal, and that can exist from everything to what we previously done before. And before we get the Zoom started, I just want to share one thing to me. It's kind of funny because I think that all of us within our industry, those of us who have been in the industry and been able to travel the world teaching and doing platform work and many of private discussions and seminars and things like that, always talk about our industry being cyclical, meaning that everything turns around, everything comes around. And when we get into the conversation of the new normal, it made me think. And I started to look up hairdressing back in the days. even before and after the Great Depression, things like that. And what seems to be the new normal now was once before. And we're going back to that. And that's basically things like uniforms, the one-on-one individual contact with our guests, the not double and triple booking and things like that. So I can go on for this for hours, but I want to just pass it on. Let's bring all the way from Canada, Anastasia, and kind of really just feel, what do you think our new normal is going to be? And how does that look for when you're preparing your salon?
Okay, hi. This is a great question, because new, it's something what was existing but was not used for a while. That's why how I define that. That's what is my definition of the word new. Because start, it is something what not existing before, versus new, it's something what used to be but not was used for a while. So how I see things. I mean, of course, with this COVID-19 and with all this lockdown and quarantine and things, I think we all had a chance not to be depressed, but actually go through deeper thoughts, and realize what's going on. So, and how I see hairdressers, like Vidal Sassoon once said, hairdresser, it is a breed, kind of a person, it is that breed what touches people's heart through the hairstyle.
Right.
So I think we should actually, my opinion might be very unpopular, because it's against double booking, it's against the actually very much focusing business mind versus focusing and concentrating on artistic side of our profession. Because maybe with that speed, with that rush, what we used to be trying to making money bigger, faster, more famous, like better, we probably forgot who we actually are. And maybe this time, that's what I'm thinking, I'm gonna use it to my clients to show that every single person who sits in my chair, you are special, and it's all about you, not about collecting money and making more profit. Of course, it's important, but it's not number one reason. That's how I see my new normal.
You know, Anastasia, that's great. Brian, I mean, think about that, Brian, and we've talked about this before. You know, we had the pleasure to be with Anastasia in Europe when we were going to do some education and things like that. And I think that you said it best, Anastasia, when you said that, you know, the new normal is basically once what was old, and it's really, really important. I want to touch on something, and I know, Brian, that you're going to agree with me on this because we talked about it before, because he's probably everybody's idol. Anastasia, you mentioned Vidal Sassoon, and I do remember reading the story of Vidal Sassoon and watching the movie on Vidal Sassoon, and it was amazing to me that Vidal Sassoon at one time sent one of his assistants home because his shoes were not polished.
Yeah.
They were not clean. And that stuck out in my mind, the way that back then, the way that hairdressers presented themselves, how they stuck out, and they had a business-oriented mind. So, Marcus, for you out in Maryland, where do you envision the new normal? What is your impression on what the new normal is all about?
Good point. Anastasia, you knocked it out of the park with that. The new norm is going to definitely be for all of us as hairstylists. You know, I say that this time that we've had now, let this be a teachable moment for all of us. And I know with myself, even before when all this started to come forth, I used to have a color on, take someone else, or book another guest in my studio. I know that today it's important because people want to feel safe. So I've started implementing, getting the supplies that we need moving forward to make sure that it's a safe environment for our guests, just as well as it is for us to work in. I think that we've taken life to a certain extent for granted. And I think that we've taken what we do as that. And Gerard, you hit it when you said that we definitely need to think about things in a different limelight. and I say this all the time to people, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And during this process and what we've gone through and this journey, I hope we've used this as a teachable moment for all of us. Because the bottom line is that no matter how much money that you make, we as hairdressers have the effect or the influence on people's lives. And by doing this, I've started ordering the supplies that we need for when the salon starts to open, because we get caught up in the creative side, as you said, Anastasia. But we need to be ready to be open, having the equipment that we need, finding out what we need to open, making sure it's a safe environment so we're all safe together, and taking and appreciating people's time. And that's what it is. I've ordered sanitizer, I've ordered face shields, not that I want to wear them, guys. And I think that during this time, we as society, so I feel honored to be on this call, because we need to work together as hairstylists. It's not who you work for, it's not what salon you have, because this has leveled us all to one playing ground. And that playing ground is that together we can accomplish more than one can alone. So I'm honored to be on this call, and I hope that this has an effect on someone else to say that let's not fight against each other. Let's work together, because as humans and as a world, we all need to stick together as one.
True,
Well
true.
Wow.
Awesome said.
If you don't mind me, oh, sorry, Gerard.
No, go ahead. Go right ahead.
I like to pick out those little key phrases that come out. And Marcus, I thought it was excellent when you talked about a teachable moment. I think that was a big, big message. And thank you for appreciating being here. It's great to have your voice. And if that reaches people, you know, to grasp and embrace that phrase, teachable moment, I think it really is. And again, Anastasia, thank you for you know, opening up, setting us off like a little rocket there. That's awesome for the rest of us to follow. I love that. So anyway, Gerard, back to you.
It's amazing, because, you know, Marcus, and you and I were able to have conversations over the phone, and we've been talking a lot. And you brought up something that I'm going to bring us back to a little bit later on about the ordering of supplies, because you said something really profound when we were on the phone. And I'm going to come back to you a little bit later on and bring that on. I'm really curious because, Brian, and I know you are too, because our minds think alike, but I would really like to hear from Giselle. Because I know, Giselle, you know, you had told us prior to us getting on that you'd just taken over a salon. So now we're getting a perspective from somebody who just took over a salon. So the new normal might be the newest normal to you on that aspect of it. You know what I mean? So all of us, we've experienced an old one, but then again, you've worked in a salon before, so you know what the old normal was. What is your interpretation, and what plans do you have for the new normal?
Hello. So honored to be here with you guys, and it really makes me feel good that everyone is feeling the same sense of care for clients. Honestly, I was just on the phone with my girls, and I was like, guys, like, any concerns that you guys have as an employee, I want to know that. I feel like the new normal is going to be very clean. How much did we not realize that we weren't doing? I feel like the last month that we were open, it really hit us. It was like really sanitizing and making sure that everyone was watching a sanitized station in between each guest. And I feel like it's opened a lot of communication between me and my staff, which I'm very grateful for. I feel like I don't even know. I'm overwhelmed on how we're going to open. I'm very grateful that since I took over an existing salon, I do have the clientele and they're waiting for us to open. I have a waiting list to call back, but on the other hand, how do I handle so much volume with a limited amount of time?
Right. And I think that that's probably, Brian, that's a concern of a lot of stylists today and of a lot of salon owners. You know, I remember when we had that one Zoom, we were talking about, you know, the double booking and triple booking. Oh my God, we're going to be so busy when we're going to get back. And then there was a big question mark. Is that so busy going to be so busy? And can we manage that? So that's a really, really great point, Giselle. Another thing that I want to point out, Brian, that Giselle said, which I really, really liked is, and I've been doing the same. she just got off the phone prior to getting on the Zoom with her staff.
Yeah.
And I think those of us who have staffs, that is the new normal, you know, to reach out to them, to understand what they're going through, to see their concerns. Because before we kind of went into operating mode and we were just operating day to day, and they walk into the doors to start working, but we never stopped to say, hey, how was your weekend? How was your day? How was yesterday when I wasn't working, you're working? Gabe, what's your intake on the new norm?
Well, I agree that I think cleanliness, with Giselle, that cleanliness is going to be huge, not only from the standpoint of keeping us healthy, which I think, you know, obviously is important to us, but I think the image of having an environment that the clients are coming into where they're going to feel safe, seems like an overstated term, but where they're going to feel like they can be safe to stay healthy is really important. And like Giselle, I was noticing how much cleaning I was taking for granted, you know, because I started wiping down things like the shampoo chairs and the shampoo things in between each client, you know, like disinfecting everything in between each client, and almost waiting a second so that if the next client wasn't there yet, so that I was doing it when they walked in. Because I think as much as it's important to know that you're doing it, I think the clients need to be able to see that you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to become really important, is for them to be able to not just know that it's clean, but to see evidence that you've cleaned it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure exactly everything that, you know, we can do to do that. But, you know, besides very conspicuous cleaning products out everywhere and making sure that, you know, anybody coming in is seeing that other people are cleaning, you know, the stations and things. But I think sort of a conspicuousness of cleanliness is going to be something that's going to make a difference to the clients feeling safe coming in. Mm-hmm. And in the end, it's going to make us feel more comfortable and stay healthier as well.
True. And with that, you know, and then I want to get Amber's and Marlene's opinion on this too. So I want to share one thing. Prior to us deciding to get on this, you know me, Brian, I always pull up my statistics and go on the computer and look at different things.
Mr. Research Man.
Mr. Research Maniac. I research everything.
Yeah.
So here's a couple of things that came up if you start to research, you know, what is the new norm? And this is the basics, okay? And then I went back in and kind of researched it in our industry. What is the new norm? And I have to laugh, to be honest with you, because some of the new norm, I thought to myself, shouldn't we have been doing that all along?
Anyway, yeah.
Right. Like, you know, some of the things that people were talking about when we do talk about things, and I remember having this one conversation with this one individual, you know, Barbicide, God bless them. They did a great thing. They really reached out to the industry. So in case any of you don't know, that you can go on and get that Barbicide certificate, which definitely, to your point, Gabe, lets the client know, our guest know, that we are taking the precautions needed, reaching out to them. But it was kind of funny because, you know, basically in general, when they were talking about the new norm, I kind of jotted down a few things. You know, masks and gloves are going to be a part of the new norm. That's a given. Mask and gloves, smaller. They were talking about when going back to school, that they will be smaller classes, and they will probably only bring them back, like 8th graders would come in the morning and 12th graders would come in the later part of the afternoon, and then, or vice versa, maybe grades 1 to 4 would come in the morning, 5 to 7 would come in the afternoon, and then the older ones would come in later. They're thinking about things like that. Floor plans. Our floor plans in our businesses are going to change. You know, what we thought was important, like that beautiful piece of furniture for everybody to see, is not going to be so important because, you know, they were even talking, which I have to honestly say, I kind of disagree, and then I'm going to bring it right down to Marlene on those 3 topics, and then we'll go through the other list. The other thing that they were talking about, which I kind of disagree, is our parking lots are going to become our waiting areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm a little iffy on that. I don't know if people are going to be so free to want to sit in their car in the parking lot. But maybe if we adjust our appointment scheduling, okay, we can adapt to that. You know, we're going to be like the Boom Burger. Anastasia, I see your hand. I'm going to come to you right after I go to Marlene because I don't want to leave her I want to give her an opportunity. So Marlene, with some of those topics, you know, where do you see that and putting that into play as the new norm?
So what I've been evaluating is that we would be alternating schedules between the stylists. So we also don't burn out, because now we're coming back to a volume of clients that we are going to burn out, and we can't be there 7 days a week. So we need to create some kind of balance here. And I think this has taught us to go back to basics and to have balance in our lives.
Back to the basics.
So,
amen.
Mm-hmm.
My plan is we will be working on one client at a time, and we have an area where we can have another client waiting and have 10 to 15 minutes to disinfect just that station and just work on that station with that client, not have any ping-ponging of chairs, none of that. So that's my plan. I've ordered everything. The hardest part for me is that a lot of clients are going to be coming back to us, and we are very sensitive beings, and we can no longer greet our guests with a hug. And that's the biggest problem for me, is that my clients are going to come back and they possibly could have lost a family member or have someone very ill, and I cannot reach out and give them a hug.
Right.
So
Good point.
that's where I'm kind of.
And that's going to be Brian and I every time we go back into our office, because you know, Brian and I share an
can't
office
do that anymore.
You know, that love and hug. Before I
Amigo.
go over to Amber, I know that Anastasia raised her hand a few minutes ago. Did you want to say something, Anastasia? You're on mute. There you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
You hear me, guys, now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking like I kind of disagree that clients need to really see that you disinfecting. It is not part of a show. It just should be in our DNA as a client, as a stylist, because you are, as a host, you are providing safe environment, and you providing this clean environment, obviously, like, you know, so not only beautiful to make a person beautiful, but I mean, to keep it healthy. But we also must remember that it is a responsibility of our clients and our guests as well to notify us if anything going on. If we all know the situations when before she can show up because she's sick, and you know, she has at home sick kids, and this is only when she's not going to work and she has time to have her hair done. So obviously now it's not gonna be a case. Now, you know, so we need to really speak very clear to our guests and to our client and saying that, guys, we love you, but this is not acceptable anymore. It was not acceptable, but sometimes we kind of try to understand the person. So now it's absolutely a no. And also what made me realize, since now people going without hairdressers, like haircuts, color, everything, for a longer time, and they cannot actually have it done, they're not taking hairdressing as a granted anymore. They now realize that this is something more. So with us as a stylist, we should keep that standard up and actually maybe become more professional. I'm not saying more professional towards our skills, but maybe more professional towards having more pride for our profession. We are not clowns. We are not entertainers. We are not your therapist, and we are not your friend. We're your hairstylist, and have respect for that.
Right, and you know what, to your point, Anastasia, and I understand that, but I think that where everybody's going in a sense is that there will be a certain easement for our guests when they come back to see that we have taken those extra steps.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, you know, and you know, you gave me an idea, and I'm going to talk to Brian about that. Our next Zoom is going to be guests. You know, how do we look at guests? Are guests our friends, or guests our family, or what? Because I think that because of our profession, and we are in a very loving, artistic, caring profession, we know everything about our guests. We know from the moment that they're having problems with their family, if somebody is sick, if there's a death, if there are joyful occasions like marriages and the birth of their children. So we've grown with them. So that's where the relationship becomes a little bit closer, and you want them to feel protected. I want to jump down to Amber and share something with her that is basically kind of talking about outside the profession as well as inside the profession, because there were another couple of topics that they were talking about, which is going to be the new normal. Disposable menus, all right, especially in restaurants, disposable menus. Okay, our menu list should be posted, but I guarantee you in a lot of salons, they are not. And I know that State Board is going to mandate some new changes. And Marcus had informed me on a couple as well, which I was kind of surprised about. And then I followed through, and like Brian says, Mr. Check into
Researcher,
everything.
fact checker.
Fact checker, I took into and found some things. But Amber, you know, things like, you know, what is going to happen outside of our industry. You know, they talk about empty stadiums, that performers are going to be performing to empty stadiums. You know, look, we're utilizing Zoom as a platform right now. That's an avenue. You know, the salons, when we tried so hard, right, to get our salons packed and busy, now we're being told to work to a smaller audience, work more one-on-one. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I think that it still allows you to be creative and artistic, but it still, to your point before, Anastasia, allows you to focus on the business aspect of it and stay cautious. So what is your take on that? On, you know, how salons are going to be not, and they shouldn't be, double and triple booking, because we've been doing our guests an injustice. You know, so now the new normal is going back to be what the normal should have always been. What's your intake on that, Amber?
So I keep looking away because I'm actually taking notes, because I'm absorbing all of this. This is such an honor to be a part of this group, and all the info is pouring in. So I'm very appreciative. The new normal, I want to challenge everybody. What are we really talking about here? Are we talking about the new normal in a sense of what supplies we're using? Are we cleaning, sanitation? Or I want to challenge everyone to stop for a minute and just take 2 seconds. And when I say the words, the new normal, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Just immediately.
For me, when I think of the new normal, are basically changes. What are going to be everyday practices that we will follow through to, and not just to prevent the COVID-19 from returning, but to look at our industry differently, okay? Because at the same token, the new normal today is going to be, you know, revisiting what we are practicing on a day-to-day basis. Because let's face the facts, you know, to your point, Amber, and I loved how you started that. I think it's great. And that's why I want you to keep going with that. We're going to be faced with mandates that are going to be mandated on top of us. But we as individuals should start creating our own mandates. So, I mean, I like that. I like that.
So my point is, stop for a second and think what that means to you, and then take that word. If it's, oh no, or, oh, I'm scared, whatever it means for you. For me, my brain keeps going to, I keep going to developing a new kind of normalcy, and that's going to be whatever it means for me. So the beautiful thing is we have all these resources right now. Get out there and watch those videos, join those groups, OSHA, Barbicide, healthcare.gov. The resources are there. We have the time. You just got to stand up and go and grab it and make that the new normal, whatever that means for you. So I think it's individual for everybody, in my opinion. And I think that it will continue to change every day. You know, our days are changing 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think it will change on a day-to-day basis when we're in the salon too. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Cool.
Developing a new kind of normalcy.
What really well said, and I'll just jump in, Gerard, just quickly before you move on to the next topic. In that sense, Gerard and I talk to each other like every day, whatever. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's an hour and a half, whatever. But one thing that always strikes me, we talk about researching, and I give a lot of praise to Gerard for that. I pick up on many things, but he goes quite deep because he's researching because of you having the salon. See, it's slightly different for me because I'm not in the salon world anymore, but having been an owner, I totally get it. But I learned so much from Gerard because he's going very deep, like Amber says, go get the resources. And if I can just quickly share, because I've got a right on the moment situation going on, because my partner, Tracy, works remotely with a colleague of ours in Tennessee, and they actually opened today for the very first time. So I've been living that journey, and I'll tell you what, I've learned a lot. It's very complex, what this new normal looks like. And to Gabe's point, if I can just share, this salon have actually just employed one individual, a new person, just to completely do the sanitizing. So that's going to be their only role within the unit. And I thought that was a very smart move. That sends out a great message to Anastasia's point. So I just wanted to bring that in briefly. I mean, there's many things I could say, but I don't want to hold up the what's going on with the discussion. Okay.
So, you know, Brian, and that's a great point. And on that point, and this is where I'd like to see a conversation go. So we talk about the new normal. You know, is it the new normal? Or was it the normal all along? And we just kind of walked away from it. I don't necessarily think, you know, and especially to your point, Amber, that it's totally a brand new normal. I mean, let's face the facts. We are in a business where we are a very touchy-feely people. You know, let's face the facts. We can't be 6 feet away from our guests. No way. We can prevent an overflux of having multiple guests in the salon at one time. But on the end of the day, we are still within 6 feet of that guest, okay? Yes, we've all witnessed the humorous little videos that were out there of people blow drying hair with their brush and blow dryers attached to a broomstick. Unrealistic, okay? So I struggle with the fact, and this was after I had my whole staff take the Barbicide certification class. I struggle with the fact that we, and I have to honestly tell you, I've also created, and I've shared this with Marcus and Anastasia, and I shared it with Brian because we were doing a webinar, and it was basically, you know, disinfecting and sterilization of our salons, basically spun off of from what the PBA and Barbicide did, and put together this whole slide presentation to do this presentation. And then I thought to myself, I struggle with the fact that I'm telling people to do what they should have always been doing in the beginning. Okay, so is that new? No, it sure is normal, but it's not a new normal. Okay, and I'm going to bring it over to Marcus next. Marcus and I had a conversation the other day on the phone, and you know, he brought up a good point. I think the new normal is not procrastinating anymore. Everybody stop procrastinating. You know, Marcus brought up a good point to me that he was on a, well, I'm going to let him share that about a webinar that he was on. And when he was touching base just a few minutes before about purchasing the supplies that you need. Well, first of all, everybody's telling everybody, make sure you buy disinfectant wipes, make sure you buy Barbicide. Shouldn't you have already had that? I mean, so I'm going to pass it over to Marcus because Marcus brought up a good point about that. You know, Marcus, when we were talking the other day and you and I were sharing, we were laughing. And then I also want you to bring into the point about what we're going to start disinfecting. Because you had mentioned something to me about the retail, and that totally blew my mind. And we'll talk about that. I'm going to pass it right over to you, Marcus.
Okay, thanks, G. You know, I think that, guys, first of all, let's remember that this is just for a season. It's not for eternity. And I think that we as stylists get into our norm, and we're going to create a new norm for a certain amount of time. So I encourage everyone, those people who, just like New York, which some of you guys are close to New York City, they're using that as a benchmark. Atlanta was the first state to open. So I encourage everybody to go to Atlanta, pull up what their criteria are. It might not be the same for us, but it gives you a guideline to go by. As I was reading that, and I've been active in a lot of private Facebook groups dealing with hairdressers and knowing what we do. And Anastasia, you said this, that, you know, everybody's in trying to do something new and something creative right now. You're right. At this point of the matter, that we have to sit down and do the focus of where people are. And I think when you get to a space where you can meet them where they are, my philosophy for that is, if somebody needs to color their hair and makes them feel better right now, go do it. We can fix anything as hairdressers. The hair's too short, we can do that. But certain things that we might not have, like hand sanitizer, every station is going to need hand sanitizer. Did I have it before I closed? Yes. Did I use it? No. But as every guest came into my studio, I had them wash their hands. I had hand sanitizer there. I've also learned that barbicide wipes, we need them, but guess what? Hospitals need them too. They can't get them either. So those are things that we need to start preparing ourselves for when that day comes and opens, and we open. But guys, you know what? If you don't have the things to open and state board comes to you, you realize that you could lose your license.
Yeah.
It's nothing to play with. So just because they say that you open, and if you're not prepared to open, just like something that I learned when I was on a call, retail, all your retail that's on the shelves, every night you're going to have to wipe your retail down. I did not know that. So when I go into the salon, and as G said with furniture, I have a bench that's there. That bench is going to come out. My retail, I'm going to take it, I'm going to narrow it down, because I know in between each guest, I've already been cleaning that, but that's the new norm for me right now. I do miss the part of the connection of people, but those are things that we've taken for granted because we've gotten into the hustle bustle of life, and this is happening and that's happening. But it's just things that sometimes we need to hone back into the basics and getting back to what this industry is all about, where it is. So I say to people that don't get caught up, like someone said, oh, I have to wear a mask. Well, that's for your benefit. I mean, I can't trim someone's bangs standing this far away. They're French. I mean, it's just not. So if that's to make it feel good, and we're going to have to change how we book, you're not going to be able to book one behind the next. You're going to have to incorporate some time in between to get that. And let's be real, you can't wear a mask for 8 hours or 10 hours. You need to take a break in between all those things. So I say that because we as an industry have to tweak things a little and be empathetic to where people are and be sensitive to everyone on this journey, because there's enough out there for all of us. But how we're going to go about that and be ready for whatever that day is when we open, because I ordered hand sanitizer and it's not going to be here till the 15th. So don't go with thinking that I have some, but do I have enough is the question.
And I think your point, Marcus, which that's why I asked you to say that. Your point is that, you know, don't procrastinate it. You know what's going to happen now, and you know that there's going to be changes. To Marcus's point, Brian, you know this, the very first thing I did was purchase sanitizers and pretend sanitizers. There, if you walk into my salon right now, okay, and I'm still I've been going to my salon. My girls run it for me. I'm not there because Brian and I do our thing, the Z1 concept. My girls run it for me. But I'm the owner of the salon. I have a great manager who acts as my secondary owner, and I love her to death. But you know what? I have to prepare for my identity. What is established here? I have to protect my staff. I have to protect my guests. Hand sanitizers are on every station right now. All right, because I took the initiative. Have I kind of start creating a stock up of, you know, towels for the salon, Clorox wipes and things like that? Yes, because the barbicide wipes were back ordered, so I had to get the Clorox. You know what I mean? They're wiped. You have to get disinfectant wipes. So you have to get that. Now, like Marcus, and I'll be honest, I never really stocked up on Clorox wipes or hand sanitizers. So that to me is going to be the new norm. But I will tell you right now, and Marcus knows it, Brian, you've been in my salon, you could walk into my salon and eat off the floor because I am a fanatic. And you want to know something? My buddy Gabe down there, Visco, I know how a germaphobe he is, so I know his salon is the same way. Okay? Here's what everybody needs to think about, and then let's chime in. Gabe, I want you to chime in on it. Your guests, while they're sitting there getting the color done, okay? And I want to add one other thing before I say that. All I've been hearing about is everybody talking about, I don't know how we're going to apply color with our guests wearing a mask, okay? You want to know how you're going to do it? You're going to put a mask on a mannequin and practice it because it's going to be easy. You just lift the thing off and apply the color on. If you don't know how you're going to do it, going back to Marcus, prepare yourself now. Put a mask on a mannequin and apply color onto the mannequin.
Perfect.
Get yourself into the realm. It'll be much easier. Gabe, your input on the whole thing.
Yeah, I think, you know, the sort of coordination of trying to put color on somebody's head when they're wagging their head back and forth is, you know,
like hitting
I
the
mean,
moving
a mask
target.
is a big deal, right? I mean, like, oh, you got a mask on? What the hell? You won't keep your head still? I can do this.
If you keep your head still, if we're used to them moving their head and doing their bills and eating and drinking coffee and things like that,
right?
Then the mask will be easier. You know why? Because you could stretch the mask and bring it back.
And pull them back. Oh, I never thought of that. Like one of those paddle ball things. Oh, it'll be awesome. You can help them keep attention. Yeah, no, I think, you know, I think that it's going to be, especially in the beginning, it's going to, Marcus was mentioning empathy. And I think that's a big part of how we should approach it, you know, is be empathetic to the guests coming into the salon and making them feel comfortable. And a big way of doing that is like you're saying, you know, reducing the turnover of clients in the salon, not double and triple booking. We're very fortunate when we set up our salon, we have extra space in between all the chairs there just because it worked out that way. So we can work, even with all the chairs filled, we're not out of bounds, you know what I mean? But if you don't, then you just have to make sure either by, as Marlene said, either by alternating when stylists are in or out of the salon. We've talked about that as well. It's going to be a little weird for a while, but as you said earlier, a lot of these things are things we should have done all along anyway.
That's
and
my
if there's
point.
one, yeah, I mean, if there's one communicable disease now, it doesn't mean there's not going to be another one coming up very soon. And I think that is, so maybe it's a good thing for us to start getting these kinds of systems in place for ourselves and finding a way to do them that it helps make the guests coming into the salon comfortable, and makes us and our staff feel comfortable as well. I mean, as a salon owner, you've got both of those, or even, you know, as any stylist, you always have that kind of dichotomy between making money and doing your job as an artist. And it's part of that balance, I think.
You know, and I think you're exactly right, Gabe, because you know what, you know, and you reiterated it again, you know, it's some of the things are what we should have been doing all along. So those are not new normals. They're not new. We should have been doing that. And my point before is that when your guests were sitting in your salons, they take notice. They look around, you know, because they're sitting there, they're getting the color down. They look at every nook and cranny. They look at every corner. They look at the barbicide jar. Is it cloudy? Is it dirty? You know, they look at all that. And possibly for some salons that were not on top of it before, it's an awakening to their guests. And to now turn around and say, hey, you know what? I'm noticing that this salon is advertising this, or they're taking care of that. They're wearing masks, they're wearing gowns. Listen, and then I'm going to bring it down to Amber. You know, when we talk about the new norm, let's forget about the disinfecting of the salons, because that's what we should have been doing. But the newer things that are going on is basically how we're going to be changing the positioning of our salons, how we're going to change at POS, the point of sale, you know, like Marcus said, when people are purchasing retail now, you know, is it wiping down all those products all the time? Or is it just basically putting a showcase of one of each product out, and then we have to take it out of that cabinet, like Marcus was talking about before. The mask wearing, the gloves wearing, you know, here's the funny thing. I used to get annoyed when I would walk in the salon and do a surprise spot, and I used to tell Brian this all the time. When the girls would want to preserve their manicure and they would wear gloves on to shampoo, and I would say, you know what, come on guys, you know, that can pull the hair. It's going to be annoying to the guests. You should be shampooing without gloves. Now I'm telling everybody, wear gloves. So now my old norm is just become a new norm. Wear gloves, wear mask. Here's another thing, and let me get your input on this, Amber. I am seriously thinking about, I went online yesterday about, for a period of time, purchasing scrubs and having our name embroidered on the top and having the stylists wear scrubs to work. Let's think about this. Marcus, you are a second-time hairstylist. Your mom, okay, my second mother, loved her to death, was a stylist many years ago. If you all, after this, go back and research, people wore uniforms as a stylist.
Overalls, yeah.
Yeah.
Aprons. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Brian, you're from Scotland, London, but here in the US, back in the day, they were dressed almost like nurses. They had to have white shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So is that a new norm or an old norm of us? Like I said, I was thinking about getting scrubs. You know, your intake on it, Amber.
So Massage Warehouse has really cute smocks that are waterproof and colorproof, and you can get embroidered on those. The price fluctuates, so I would definitely, I'm looking for a stylist smock because I'm hot-blooded, so I think I would be more comfortable with that.
Hot-blooded, there you go.
Yes.
But Amber, you know what I wanted you to do, Amber? Repeat that. You said it was Massage Warehouse, just in case anybody's listening and they want to go. Massage Warehouse.
That's good.
Yes.
I know that Gerard's probably really interested in that. I could see you in one of those, Gerard. But anyway, that's a side conversation.
I have seen him in there.
Yeah. All right, Amber, back to you. Sorry.
Just a fun little snidbit story. It won't take very long. The one person I've been turning to, who I look up to in the industry, and I've been talking to the most, because I've kind of put myself in a little shell, is an 80-year-old woman who used to do hair. She's a British woman who doesn't do hair anymore, but for over 25 years stood on her feet, and she tells me this story, and I can picture it, stood on her feet in 6-inch heels in a uniform that had buttons all the way down her back every single day, 6 inches, or they had to go home and it was buttoned, tight fit uniform every day. I've been talking to her a lot on the phone, so I'm envisioning that. If you're going to go with that, I might practice.
With the 6-inch
doing some mannequins.
Yeah.
6-inch heels.
Listen, Gabe and myself, you know, you don't want to see Gabe in 6-inch heels.
No. But I think to bounce off what you're saying, the practicing, I've not done Netflix and chill since all this started. March 21 was my last day. There's been no Netflix and chill for me. I've spent 30 hours. I'm at my salon right now this week, and I went into every corner, every nook and cranny, and I pretended I was my client, and I put myself in their shoes, and I said, when I walk in that door, what does this feel like? What does this look like? And I got my notebooks all around with my highlighters, and you just make your lists on what you think would make them feel the most comfortable, and then a list on how you can get that implemented and check them off.
Cool. Very good. Good advice.
Giselle, let's go to Giselle for a minute, because I'm intrigued the fact, because you know, I mean, I respect her and I envy her because she's worked in the salon before, right? Now, did you purchase the salon you worked in?
Yeah, I worked there for 10 years.
Okay, so this would be great. So let me ask you this question then. And so you saw what was going on under a different management.
I did.
Now you're taking over. So it's all fresh and new to you. So, you know, and listen, we're not bad-mouthing anything that any of us do, any decision, but do you see where now the old normal is going to be a new normal for you because there's going to be changes that you're going to implement?
Yeah, well, definitely with the retail, I was laughing when, I don't know his name, Marcus was saying,
Marcus.
he was saying about having, I think that just a showcase. And when I took over, that was the first thing I did. I switched over from having all of our retail out into just having single items on the wall, and no one touches them. So it was a lot of things that I did. Like I removed all the little tables, basically cleared out the place. I remodeled. But that was one of the first things I was looking at. I hate like high traffic areas. I hate crowded areas. So I feel like, I don't know, did I have an idea something like this was coming? I don't know. But I think that just thinking about it very carefully, even to the coffee machine, I was reading some articles, they're saying that that's a high traffic area that we have to look at. Like the other Amber was saying, she's looking at every single corner of her salon and studying that. I feel like everyone has to go back and look into that.
Of course. And, you know, here's the funny thing, you know, Brian knows it. We have a coffee bar in my salon now. You know, every 5 years I rearrange it, rechange it. We have a coffee bar, snack bar. We have a beverage fridge there now too. Sometimes I wonder if my guests are coming in for breakfast and lunch, or if they're coming in to get their hair done, but we have it all there. And I told Brian, I said, you know, I just reached out to my marketing strategy person, and we ordered coffee cups with our names on them, paper cups, disposable. $1,200. Don't ask me how many coffee cups that she ordered me, but anyway. And I thought to myself, you know, our self-service bar is not going to be self-service anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, there was a list that we printed up and we sent out to all of our guests, basically saying, and that was one of them, that, you know, we are going to be proud and honored to serve you. It'll be available. We will serve you. And then in the back of my head, I'm thinking to myself, how are these people going to drink coffee and wear a mask and, you know, all this crazy stuff. But Marlene, in your salon, do you see where you feel that, you know, there is a new normal, you know, and whether it be the way we greet our guests, you know, and I think you mentioned it before, that we are in a touchy, huggy, lovey, feely type of an industry. And yes, you know, and sometimes it would freak me out, like kissing everybody, hello, but that's, you know, hey, there was a damper on that when the whole Me Too movement came on. Now it's the COVID-19 movement. So I think we're going to see the new normal. That's going to change, but not just in our industry, all over, but mostly affect our industry. What's your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion on that is this new definition of life, right? I think it's actually going to give us an opportunity to personalize care. We've been customizing our techniques on their hair. We've been, all of that about their image, right? But now it's personalized. So you're going to sit there and they're going to have your attention the full time. You know, there's no one else to kind of steal it away, because you might be only working with another stylist or two other stylists, right? There's less people in the salon. So they're going to have your full attention. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to look at it in a very positive way, right? I'm trying to get ready to go back, and I got the disposable capes and everything's as much disposable as it can be. But I'm focusing on it's going to be positive for them once they feel comfortable in your space.
Here's one thing, Brian, if I may, and then I want to go through this topic, and I want to get everybody's opinion on that. I want to read something to you. And then, Brian, you let me know how we are with timing. Yeah. Then I want to get a closure comment from everybody, you know, because, I mean, my mind is like, in different avenues. But
I have to be the timekeeper.
Yeah,
big bad timekeeper. So we can do maybe one more round. Gerard.
So let's go through this. I'm going to read something to each and every one of you. You know, we talk about, you know, like Brian said earlier, that the buzzword is the new normal out there, that are being mandated to us from federal, from state, from our own industry, State Board of Cosmetology, within our own districts as well. That's a different type of new normal. Basically what they're saying, it's like when they locked everybody down and they created a lockdown. There was, how businesses were going to open up. That was a new normal. We're going to do this phase first, this phase second, this phase third, and then where you filmed in. When they turned around, they said, that's it. Which Brian and I talked about it all the time. I, from day one, said that every single person walking the street should have been wearing a mask from the beginning, not half of the people, and then everybody else joined in later. So here within our industry, what they're saying is going to be the new norm. I want you all to think about that for a minute, and then let's go through everybody one by one and tell me, is it the new norm or is it something that we should have been doing? Is it old? So the new norm, prime example, barberside jars. Barberside jars should be changed on a bi-daily basis. Basically what she was trying to say is every 2 days, every 3 days, depending on the cloudiness of the barbicide. Will the new norm be to change it on a daily basis? Sanitizing your salon at the end of each day. The new norm would be sanitizing your salon at the end of each guest, at the end of each client. Making sure, of course we know, making sure that all guests, employees, front desk people, management, and owners are wearing mask, gloves at all times, possibly a gown or some type of cover-up. Utilizing disposable materials when applicable. One thing that blew my mind, and I don't even know who this person was that said this, disposable applicators. Well, shouldn't you've always been using disposable applicators? Okay. Possibly utilizing disposable brushes, disposable towels, disposable cutting capes, unless there is a facility for you to wash each and every one of them. Mandating the amount of clients that are allowed to enter into your salon at one time, possibly taking temperatures of each client as they enter into the salon. Determining if an individual, a guest, a stylist, anybody in management is not feeling well that day, possibly an ill or a cold, mandatory for them to stay home. Refusing guests, and this goes into what Anastasia said earlier, refusing guests if they possibly feel ill and asking your guests. I know personally myself, that was in my letter that I sent out to everybody. If you're not feeling well, please stay home. We will make adjustments. Changing operation hours from possibly opening up earlier to opening up later. If you are closed on Sunday and Monday, you're going to look into opening up on Sundays and Mondays. But most importantly, and what I liked about this, because Brian said this in the last Zoom chat that we had, is take care of yourself. It's like being on an airplane. You put your mask on first before you can help others. So with although, and then one of them was to, of course, changing the floor plan of your salon, rearranging it, possibly removing the reception area, sitting area, removing the chairs, benches, or couches that are in there. Separating your stations, if possible, putting them further apart. We all know that the shampoo bowls cannot be moved because in most cases they are cemented to the ground. Alternating the shampoo bowls. But if you're stuck with only one shampoo bowl, then you're fine. If you have two, that's where it comes a challenge. If there are 3 shampoo bowls, you would eliminate the second one. One individual who is an artist, I was on this chat, turned around and said that he has 3 shampoo bowls in his salon, taking the center one and using it as a new planter or a display thing so that they would use the other 2. So these are all new norms. But then I have a big question mark on permanently or for how long? Okay? Some of those new norms were something that we should have been doing. Mm-hmm. At this point, let's go with Marcus's strategy of either raising our hand or putting the hands up there. Anybody's opinion on anything, on any of that, or if they want to add to that.
Because we'll need to make these answers quite brief, yeah? And that way we can all get in. So,
Anastasia.
Go ahead. Oh, unmute.
1 minute, Anastasia. Oh, there you go.
She's live. She's live.
Sorry. I'm going to start saying that in Canada, I'm from Canada, I'm located Toronto, Canada, that by our regulation, Canadian regulation, your barber side should be cleaned every single day, not bi-daily, it's every single day. So we already trained that way. Capes, personally me, in my salon, we have a washable cape after every single client, including color cape, including cotton cape. So it's not something new. The same, like, you know, so whatever was mentioning to me, it was like, duh, it's already I've been doing it. So that's not a problem. My personal problem is wearing gloves all the time, and only for one particular reason. I'm not sure how I will be able to cut fringe, operating scissors and hair in gloves.
Can I cut you off 1 minute on that? Keep in mind about this, Anastasia. Barbers have been doing it all along. And I spoke to a lot of barbers. Barbers wear gloves when they cut because they don't want hair splinters. So, you know, for us, okay, so in that aspect, that'll be a new normal.
All right, so even, yeah, but I was thinking differently from new normal. Like, I mean, if on that aspect, I don't see anything new personally to me or according to Canadian regulations. So far, that's what we have been doing. So,
okay,
well,
good.
see.
It reinforces it. That's good.
Dave, I saw your hand was up. I know you wanted to say.
Thanks, Anastasia.
I was just thinking a few things, especially things, there was something Amber said earlier. I mean, now I want to go to my salon and sit in every chair and really take a look at everything. I am definitely going to do that this weekend.
Good point.
I love the idea of wearing scrubs because, unlike, again, Amber, I did sit and binge watch the whole Money Heist series.
So did I. I love it.
And ate a lot of stuff. And so the elastic waist on those, that's going to be a new normal for me for a while. But I think that, you know, as far as these sort of new normal things being a lasting change, I think it'll depend on the salon. I think the salons that that are kind of your top tier salons, that, you know, the clients are coming in and looking, they're going to see that those type of changes are going to establish a new sort of their new level of benchmark.
Yeah.
But then you're going to, I mean, how many, we've all been in salons where no matter what the regulation is, they haven't changed their barbicide in a month.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that's always going to happen. The regulations can be great, but eventually people are going to get lazy about it. So I guess, is it going to be the new normal? I think it's going to establish a new benchmark. And then some of us will either rise above that, fall at it, or fall below it. And
I think too, some of it will stick and some of it will not stick.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
It just happens.
For some people, that's going to, you know, it's going to stick, and some people it's not. And that will, I think it'll eventually, people are going to see that coming in, and it's going to affect their comfort level. And, you know, things will shake out from there.
Right.
And
Anybody else?
To that point, well, if I jump in, Marcus actually mentioned that earlier. And credit to you that some things will, you know, be for a little while, and then, you know, some things will be very acute, I think, at the beginning.
Right.
To set that kind of standard. And I'm sure out of common sense, some things will dissipate slightly. But there'll be certain things that clients will almost, I would want to say the word demand, but would expect maybe. And that will be the norm. So
it'll change clients' expectations.
That's it. So I think we're going back to Marcus.
Marcus says that.
Yep, there you go.
You know, one thing that I say is people don't embrace change. Change is going to happen. So one thing is evident, that we must embrace those changes, whether we like it or not. It's to benefit all of us on this term. Is it an inconvenience? Absolutely. Did we not do it? No, some did, some didn't. So what I say is, let's just work together for this time to get done what we do. Is it going to cause us a little to be scheduling differently. Absolutely.
Mhm.
But just remember that this is the good for all of us. And if by staying home, what we want to do is by staying home to put a curve on it. We don't want a resurge of what happened again, because we don't need to be out another 6 or 8 weeks. So find out what your state mandates. Use this for a little time just so we can make the better for all of us. And I know for myself, as you said, sometimes we go into our own salon or environment with different eyes. And I did say this to someone in our studio. Have you ever looked at your own business in someone else's eyes, or went in with fresh eyes?
Mhm.
So go into your salon today with those fresh eyes and how you're going to proceed to make it a clean, safe environment for you and your guests. And realize that it's not going to be forever, guys. We just need to do these things, and hopefully we'll implement those good habits and moving forward.
You know, Marcus, it's true. You know, the key word there is change. And you talk about change. And listen, as many of us are that are on this panel right now, we've been educators. We travel the world. We've talked to a slew of hairdressers. When a new collection comes out and we introduce a new way of highlighting or placing balayage, ombre, this, that, you know what I mean? And to Amber's point, everybody will adapt their new norm, what it means to them, and what they need to basically continue to have their businesses strive. Because let's face the fact, what's happening in Buffalo or in Toronto or in New York City or in Maryland or in South Jersey, North Jersey, Central Jersey, is not going to be the same for all of us. You know, so I think you have a really good point. Anybody else? Does anybody else want to?
Well, we've got three that haven't said anything. So Giselle, come on.
Gisela, I'm calling her. I meant
Giselle.
Giselle.
Well, now you're called Giselle. That's fine. That's close.
That's okay. I just wanted to add, like, I really hope that the cleanliness that we have now, and I guess the level of care that we have to have a sanitized facility, a sanitized salon, I really hope it stays with us. I really hope that we can keep that for the long run, because it'll make our clients more aware of how we do things. It'll make our clients more aware of how much we care for them, whether or not it's for the COVID outbreak, but what if they have a compromised immune system, you know, permanently? It makes them feel safer to choose us instead of a different salon that are not sanitizing as much as we are.
I think your key point and your key word, which is great, is it's going to make people more aware.
Yeah.
Aware is the word.
That's it.
So I think everybody's got a great key point. Amber, I saw your hand went up earlier.
Sorry, I'm not really sure how that hand thing works because I don't see a hand on my thing. I just see dots.
We saw your hand
No
go up.
problem.
I thought I saw some clapping there for a second. I love what she just said, and her heart was truly coming out in that. And I think this is a great way to close, in that everyone on this meeting and everyone listening to this, our love language, the way that we show love, is through acts of service. Now, whether or not we want to turn that faucet on full speed, that's entirely up to us. If we want it to trickle, you do it at your speed. But bottom line, we're just showing our clients that we love them, and we're going to be sharing that experience with them. And I think most importantly, if we don't take care of ourselves and fill up ourselves, we won't be able to pour out anything out of our faucets. So whatever you do, take this time to make sure that you hone in on yourself and what you need so that we can pour out our love language.
Excellent.
Amen.
Well,
Good
well
point.
said.
Good
So
point.
let's have a couple of words from Marlene, and then Gerard, you give us a wrap up, and then I'll close it out. Okay, Marlene.
A lot of it I already had in place. The only thing that kind of changes a little bit for me is the volume, because of my salon is a small salon, so I need to be very aware of that. But I'm embracing it. And I'm ready to see my clients.
There you go.
And you
Okay.
say that with such passion.
I know she
You almost
did.
brought a tear to my eye. I'm going to come and see you just to see you.
Nice. Well said.
No, everybody, I applaud everybody. I have to give you guys all applaud. It's amazing
Me too.
because each and every one of you have enlightened me and brought something to my mindset to look at things maybe through a different eye. And at the same token, you know, like I said in the beginning, we can agree to disagree. You know, we all have our own businesses that we need to run. I think that there were some really, really strong keywords that were brought out in here, and it's the love, and it's the passion, the artistic, the creative, aware, being aware. And if you are being aware and your guests are being aware, it just makes for a lighter day. I think the definition, and I like what Amber said earlier, the definition of the new normal, you need to take that into heart and decide what is the new normal for you. Because to me, some of the new normal was something that I've already done. So it wasn't new to me. You know, I've already been implementing that. To me, the new normals are the mandate now that, or the changes that are going to be implemented in order to operate as a business. I loved how Anastasia talked about, you know, we are professionals. We need to be business people. You know, maybe we're going to back off on the creative aspect of it a little bit and start, or the artistic form of it. You know, we are in artistic form, and that's why we all got into it. But find the balance between the two, because we could still be creative and artistic. We're going to be challenged when our guests come back, because there's going to be, you know, I've always said this, as far as I'm concerned, everybody that walks through the doors of my salon is a corrective work or a new painting to be performed. So, you know, there's still the artisticness of how I'm going to approach that, but there's got to be the business sense in my mind is how do I keep my employees and my guests safe, and how do I make everybody feel comfortable?
Right.
So I'll think about the new norm moving forward. We know that we have mandates that are going to be placed upon us, and we know what they possibly are, whether it's wearing a mask, wearing a glove, wearing scrubs, or like Amber said, going in and wearing new smocks, whatever we have to do. But sometimes, and I think everybody mentioned this before, our industry is a cyclical. It just keeps going around. What was before will become again and resurface all in all. I applaud each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being part of this Zoom. You all are the best. I love you all. And we're going to do a lot more air hugs and elbow bumps and kisses and all that. So, Brian, I think another passionate, amazing Zoom with really passionate people. And I'm proud to be on this Zoom with everybody to say that you are my fellow colleagues, and it's most important that we reach out to each and every other stylist out there.
Great. Well said, Gerard. Thank you so much for summing that up in such an eloquent way. And, you know, me too. I'm like Amber was saying, I'm taking mental notes, maybe not so much writing them down, but there's some great information. Panel, you did an excellent job there. I really feel such a collusion between all of you. And I think there's maybe new friendships on this screen, I can tell right away, because you know you all, as Gerard said, spoke from your heart. So on behalf of Z1 Concept, Gerard and myself, we really would like to thank each of you, Marcus, Anastasia, Giselle, Marlene, Gabe, and Amber. Thank you on behalf of all of us and the industry, and I know a lot of people will get really much from what's been shared today. So that has been a super episode 10, Gerard, and let's get ready and get ourselves prepared for episode 11. So everybody watch out for that. If everybody can just unmute your screens, and then we'll just cheer ourselves out, and that'll be us for today. So once again, thank you everybody for doing a marvelous job, and we want to hear all of you. So here we go. Everybody, give yourselves a good cheer. Come on, here we go. Great, well done.
Hey, woo!
There you go, well done, team. So, Gerardo, shall we? We'll